sex, life, and tech. If you're 21 or 101, we love them all. Welcome to Age Blind with Nancy AF.
Hey, boys and girls, and welcome to Age Blind with Nancy AF. This is the last recording of the 2025 season, although we will be recording all through 2026. So if you would like to be a guest next year, please hit me up. And this is going to be the best recording of the year. We had somebody drop out at the 11th hour, but I did bring along my little sparkle gnome as a sixth guest. He doesn't have his own frame, but he is here in spirit. And thank you to everybody for dropping what you had going on today and joining me for 20 minutes for the latest episode of Age Blind. This year, we're going to spend close to $1 trillion on holiday shopping, and AI is starting to become many people's holiday shoppers. In other words, they're getting their recommendations for what to buy for their loved ones using AI, and that is going to be the new norm. There is also something called vibe shopping, which means that you don't really know what you're going to get, but then you're inspired by something you see online. And this is a really interesting holiday statistic that a whopping 64% of people would rather skip their holiday celebrations and prefer small, intentional gatherings. So that is a great segue because this is a small, intentional gathering. And the intent is to inspire other people to just get some peace, love, and understanding and celebration in their hearts as we enter the holiday season. And as I was saying before we logged in and went live, this is one of the most diverse groups of people that I've ever had in the SALT box. SALT stands for sex, life, and tech across generations. So let's just go around the room, and each of my guests can introduce him or herself or their self and talk a little bit about how they met me and why they're here. So let's start with you, Matt, since you've known me the longest of any of my guests. Thank you for those of you who are watching on YouTube, you'll see that Matt took the assignment very, very seriously and is wearing a Santa hat and drinking a glass of champagne. And he has a little tree because he's actually based in London and it's evening over there. So
I
Matt,
don't want to interrupt, but I was so confused when I saw Matt lifting up his tree when you said he's been drinking champagne. I'm like, that looks like a tree to me.
No champagne here, but yes, my tree is some champagne in spirit.
I've got right.
Yes, I've known Nancy for over half a decade now. We met in fall of 2020. We both lived in the same building, and if people can remember, fall of 2020 was an incredibly difficult time. It was hard to meet people, and I think small intentional conversations always matter, but I think we were reminded why they matter so much when for years we couldn't have them. So excited to be back here on Age Blind.
And Matt and I are 4 decades apart, do the math, and he had just graduated business school, and I went into mommy mode and was giving him advice on career and life, and we have remained friends since, even though he now lives, as I said, on the other side of the proverbial pond in London. Kyle, you're next, since you're the second longest tenure.
Second longest tenure, I believe it was September of 2023. Yes, it was. Yeah. September 2023, we have been doing I've been helping you make your podcast since then. Yeah, that's it. That's the whole story.
Yeah, Kyle is a podcast producer, editor, Sherpa. And through the podcast world, I actually met my next oldest, not chronologically, maybe. I'm age blind. It doesn't really matter. So Kelly, how did you and I meet? And you have to tell the Iowa story.
Oh, yes. So again, we met through podcasting, such a great way to make wonderful friends. I used to help you a little bit with your social media as well. And we forged a friendship through that. And you've even been out to visit me in Iowa, where I live. You had your first pork tenderloin in Iowa, and it was everything you thought it would be. We had so much fun. We went on a big group date. We partied. It was really a just an incredible weekend that you were there. So yeah, it was great.
And
We
Kelly is
had
in
lots of
possession
fun.
of a blackmail picture. We went out to a country western bar, and there was a drunky girl who was straddling my shoulders and groping my boobs. And
Mhm.
you look at this picture, you're like, what the hell is going on there? So I
Yes,
was
it
not
was wild.
participating. I was just along for the ride, literally. But yeah,
Yeah.
I joked around with Kelly that, we New Yorkers don't go to the I states except for Illinois because Chicago is there. And she compelled me to go visit Des Moines. And Des Moines is a really, really well-kept secret spot
Yeah.
in the United
It's a
States.
little
The airports
gem.
suck, but the
It's
city's
not the
great.
best. Yes.
And last
Yeah.
but not least, Nora.
Yes, so I've been a venture capitalist my whole career. I met Nancy in Scottsdale about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and we started talking. And one of the things that was fascinating to me is what the work you're doing as far as introducing the world to our generation, which is like, pay attention. We have a lot of money. We have children and grandchildren. Don't forget we exist. And I thought, as a venture capitalist, I thought that was a great niche to go after. And we've stayed in touch since. And actually, Nancy was my first podcast guest, and I think it was one of the most watched still, even though it's still my first ones.
Nice.
Yes, because
Great.
Guy and I often joke around, and Kelly, you know this as well, being a podcaster and social media influencer. We're living in a world where boobs get eyeballs and brains get engagement. So my whole brand, Nancy AF, revolves around boobs and brains. And the same
That's
way you
great.
could get people to show up at your house by serving great food. It's just the hook that draws people in, and you will never see me doing quasi porn, but I'm a realist, and I know that if I flaunt my blonde hair and my cleavage, I'm going to get way more views than I would if I was just talking about intelligent things that I would much rather talk about. But it's the world in which we live. You got to have clout.
Yeah.
I don't
Sex
have
sells.
boobs.
Always
I don't have
has.
True.
boobs, so I'm screwed.
Yes, but you do have a brain, and I think the rules
Okay.
are definitely different, not to get, go on a feminist rant, but the rules are very different today for men and women. So whatever gets you the clout, whatever builds the fan base, the fan base is key. The same way people still advertise on the Super Bowl because they're getting a lot of eyeballs. But let's jump into our conversation, because this is not just about me. It's about us, and it's about what we've accomplished in 2025, what we're celebrating, and what we're hoping for in the year ahead. So for those of you who are listening or watching, after we hang up, I would love for all of you to grab a piece of paper or a blank screen or your phone or whatever your mode of note-taking is, and write down the greatest thing for 2025 for yourself and what you're looking forward to most in 2026. So again, Matt, let's follow the same order. You're on first. Go for it.
Yeah, so this year, the last few years, I have tried to make a goal that I could count, that I could hold myself to, with the idea being that if I was not close to that number, I would force myself out of my comfort zone, because I had this arbitrary goal in my head that I wanted to achieve the made up number that I made up myself. But this year, my goal was to travel to 25 different countries in 2025. And I am pretty proud to say that with Singapore at the end of November, I did hit 25 new countries in 2025. So they had to be different places, and they couldn't count the UK where I live, but everything else was fair game. But it was quite the endeavor, and it took a lot of planning and research, and again, taking some solo trips I may not have taken before, but really, really proud of being able to say that in a year, I was able to do that.
How
Very,
many
very cool.
continents was that? Because my first
Okay.
thought was you can knock out a lot in Europe, but then I was like, wait, Singapore is very far from Europe, so you clearly have been going around.
Great question. 5 continents. So
So that's
Africa, Asia, North, South America, and Europe.
so it's like an average of 2 countries a month.
An average of 2 new countries a month. Yes.
And Matt is also the editor of a travel website that I host called Bleisure Living. about combining business travel and leisure travel. So whenever Matt goes on one of his trips, I get to experience it vicariously through his writing. So check out leisureliving.com and see Matt's latest, which is tips for traveling to Asia. So what are you doing for an encore, Matt?
Well, I think Singapore was really when I hit 25. I stayed at the original Shangri-La Hotel. I went to some really nice dinner, so I treated myself more than I normally would on any of these other 24 countries. And then I think into 2026, I know we'll get there, but thinking about what can I do that has 26 at the start of it, and I have a few ideas for that too.
Did you have the
Awesome.
Singapore sling at the Shangri-La?
I did, and I also had it at the bar where they make the original.
I'm proud of you. Good.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great.
I
actually.
really like that idea of making the arbitrary number the number of the year. I might have to try that. That's really fun.
Yeah. It just gives you a reason to, if you're thinking, oh, well, why am I really doing this? Well, I'm doing it because I have to hit that number. I need to you need to cross that, line. So it's a few years I've done it. It's been really great.
And it
If
amps
there
up
was
the
one
challenge each
takeaway,
year.
if there was one big takeaway from visiting 25 countries, could you distill that down into one key piece of learning?
That we're more alike than people think. And I think, 5 continents, very different types of trips. There were times I was at the 5-star hotel. There were times I was at 1-star Airbnbs. And I really think that, the human experience is more similar. People just want to be treated kindly and with respect. I think respect means a lot of different things in a lot of different countries and continents. But at the end of the day, if people are feeling respected, it's amazing how far you can go.
Love that. Love that. So Kyle, highlight of 2025.
Yeah, so I get to cheat because my highlight is something that I haven't done any of the work for yet. But so I get all the praise now and then all the work in 2026 and beyond. And that was finding out earlier this year that my wife was pregnant. So
Oh,
Mazel.
congratulations!
thank you. Yeah,
You
so
heard
like
it here
you.
first.
I could have mentioned other things, but I feel like that's going to be
Major.
yeah, that's going to be major. So again, all of the work is in 2026 and beyond. Right now, it's just indulging the cravings. And like, listen, if my wife's like, man, I really want Domino's, I'm not going to say, well, okay, well, I guess I'll have some too. Like right now, it's easy for me. Then that's going to change, but that's 2026's Kyle's problem and excitement, to be fair.
All right. Well, as I said, now you've got 3 parents to draw on for parenting advice. So again, the beauty of Age Blind is there are always lots of people who've been through stuff that you're about to go through and can give you valued or unvalued advice. So Kelly, what was your highlight of the year?
I was really excited because I've been doing my True Crime Sleep Stories podcast for a long time, but in 2025, finally make money from it. So I've got
Woohoo!
it's monetized and I'm excited about that. It gives me even more, motivation to do it. And I published 2 more books in 2025. So I've
Wow.
got 3 out total now to go along with the podcast. I think that was the highlight of my year. Yeah.
One of the top 3 most listened to categories in podcasting, true crime. There's a very funny SNL episode where these women's boyfriends go out of the
I see.
house and they immediately start binge watching true crime. And Hallmark even has a true crime channel now
They
because
do.
crime
Yes.
is
Yes.
just
Yep.
a-
It's so popular. It's always been popular, but it has exploded in the last 5 to 10
I
years.
do
But
enjoy watching it.
Hallmark
Yeah.
having true crime is one of those things that sounds so ridiculous until you think about it for 2 seconds and you're like, no, that is absolutely going towards their target demographic. You get your,
yeah.
comforting Christmas stories and then your comforting gruesome murders.
Just throw in a murder. They do like a cozy mystery. They do a good cozy mystery.
Okay.
Hallmark does. Yeah.
yes. I actually had a therapist on my podcast on Halloween, and I asked why people love true crime so much. And, it's a very primitive thing of like just watching stuff that gets your adrenaline going and, you know, gives you just enough fear to motivate
Yeah,
you.
from a safe distance too.
Yeah,
Yes.
Right.
exactly. So, hey, highlight of 2025. I know you've had a big transition going from the VC world to other things. So,
So it's interesting. I'm gonna go with something very basic, which is I've always been an athlete my whole life, and every joint in my body has been somehow damaged, and I spent the whole year fixing them one after the other and doing alternative stuff. So I haven't had any surgeries yet. I've done PRP, I've done stem cells, I've traveled everywhere to get that done. So shoulder, knee, lumbar. Yeah, so I would guess my achievement is putting myself back together so I can function again
and
athletically.
Great.
and Guy also has a nonprofit related to music and young people. So I'm going to be your marketing agent here and say that, you know, you were over in Spain doing concerts and I was really impressed by that. You know,
Yeah, that
just
was year
teaching
10.
young people the joys of music and performing in the analog world, getting them off of their screens to bring joy and music to other people.
That was our 10th year, and it was great. It was a lot of fun, and yeah, can't complain. That's one of the few times when I don't feel the pain of getting on stage and jumping and dancing and so on. You forget about all your injuries.
Yeah, I mean, look at Mick Jagger and Keith Richards. Like maybe that is the key: sex, drugs, and
Exactly.
rock and roll. And my highlight of the year was I launched the podcast the year before, but I rebranded in 2025 as Age Blind. And I also launched my personal brand, which is something that I was always very hesitant to do because it felt really narcissistic. But I split my business brand and my marketing company from my personal persona. And I launched a website called Nancy AF. And Kelly, you're a role model because I'm figuring out a way to monetize it. And I think 2026 will likely be my year as I get back out on the speaking circuit.
Yeah, that'll be
Love that.
great. That's good. Yes,
So
good for you.
segue into 2026. Matt, I know you said you're going to try to travel to 20 to 26 countries, but do you also have like a personal soul-based or intellectual goal that you've set for yourself?
Yeah, so similar actually to what you were both talking about, which is kind of funny on the live performance piece for the same reasons. So sticking with the number goal, I want to go to 26 live performances in 2026. And I promise
Oh,
I'm not
that's a
just
good
saying that because
one.
of what you just said. Like this has been written down on vision boards for weeks now. But for the same reason, I think just getting to escape for a little bit every time I leave either a West End show or a concert because I wasn't on my screen for a few hours, my brain is so much more empowered. So I am excited to see what sort of discoveries I get this year. So, yeah.
Yes, let's bring analog back. I was just reading an article that a lot of younger people have started carrying around what they call analog bags with a coloring book, a knitting project, home cooking, home baking is making a comeback, live music. I think the right answer is that combination of, as I call it, bots and bodies. So, Kyle, you've already said 2026, Little Decker is on the way, but do you have any specific goals as a parent or?
I mean, keep the kid alive. That's the main. And I mean, in 2026, a lot of it is going to be, because they won't. I don't want to get too into details about like when it's expected and stuff, just like publicly. But the the kid probably won't be at a place where I can really mess them up psychologically. All the goals of things like appropriate screen time and engagement and all of that. I think that's going to end up coming when they're a little bit older in 2027. So yeah, I think it is really. It's going to be keeping the kid alive, and that's more than a joke, but also just really I want to be able to learn everything I can, and the big thing is I want to learn how to integrate them into my life in a healthy way. I think I'm in a better position than a lot of people in that I don't do a lot, so there's not a lot I have to give up, but I do want to get to a healthy place because I know that especially as kids get older, parents can get lost in being parents and kind of lose themselves. And I want to be able to from the start get to a point where, yeah, there are some things I'm going to have to give up, but to be honest, I should spend less time on the screen anyway. So, yeah, just working to increase that balance. But yeah, really keeping the kid alive. But the balance is a nice secondary goal.
Kelly.
I have a lot of goals for 2026. I actually just sat down last week and started my goal making process, and I do it at the end of the year every year. And I think it's so important because how do you know how far you've come in a year if you can't take a look back and kind of like checklist off, like, I achieved this, I can work on this next year. I am big on goal setting, and 2026 is going to be a big year for me personally and professionally. But one of the goals, and I swear I did write this down too. It's not just because you said this, Matt. In 2026, I'm going to read 26 books. It's been on my priority list for so long. It's something I don't make a priority enough. So I've got 26 books on my list. Going to try to hit the gym every day. I've got a couple podcast projects that I've had in writing for literally years, and I'm going to bring those to fruition. A couple new podcasts. I've got some big gardening goals for the year as well. So just so many things that I'm really, really excited about.
Well, follow me on Goodreads, and we will keep
Okay.
each other accountable on the book
Yes.
thing, because I
Okay.
set that as a goal a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
My goal is more modest than yours. It's 12. It's one book a month. And I got a library card when I moved this summer. And so far, I'm on target for 2025. And I find the Goodreads helps keep me accountable because it counts for me. So
I
I'm
just
all
set up an
about,
account. Yeah.
yeah, the integration of analog and digital is what I'm all about. And if you want to do what I'm calling, Kelly, a micro mini mastermind, I have my 2026 goals done. It's a 1-pager. So if you want to set up some time before the end of the year where I'll show you mine, if you show me yours, and we could
Sure.
brainstorm.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be great. Let's do it.
All right. Awesome sauce.
Yeah.
And Guy, last but not least.
So Nancy, this is your genius, is that you have such a varied crowd here. So because of my background, having been in a war and fought in a war, I don't do goals. I just need to live to the next day. So
Love
2026
that.
for me, I have a podcast called In Layman's Terms, where I try to teach people the things that I understand and layman people, so that, I don't talk about the intensity of trade tariffs, but I actually explain what a tariff is and how it works and these kind of things. So it's just having a little bit more impact. And since you're both doing books, I am coming out with a book. So out of your 24 books and your 12 books, one of them should be mine. It's going to be called Not on Our
Got it.
Watch,
Yes.
is the name of the book.
Okay.
Love that.
And it's
Love
about
that.
avoiding the Civil War in the United States. I know I don't want to get too serious, but
All the books on my list are very serious. So yeah, that fits right in.
But that's a great point when you talk about avoiding a civil war, because what I'd love to leave all of our listeners and viewers with is the fact, and Matt, you hit on this when you talked about your world travels. We as humans have way more in common than we have things that divide us. And we all just need to learn that if you start heading down that path, that it's going to get ugly, is to just learn to remove yourself from that part of the conversation. Healthy debate is fine. Guy and I are on very different sides of some issues, but I've learned so much from him and have actually changed some of my opinions based on his knowledge. I'm very much of a fact-based decision maker. So give me facts and I will potentially change my point of view. And we need to really focus, not to get too preachy, but I think that all of our goals next year need to revolve around showing grace, being respectful, looking for the commonalities as opposed to the things that divide us. Don't rage bait. Don't do anything that you wouldn't want to see your little kids doing. And just try to build a kinder, gentler world. We can't control everything that goes on our planet, but we can control our own behaviors each and every day.
I so agree with that. I really do.
Agree.
The world is so divided on so many issues now. Everyone's in a personal war every day. I feel like feuding with each other online. And I'm just thinking we all need to just practice more kindness, I think. Yeah.
And
We
unfortunately,
are all more similar than we are different.
the algorithms everywhere you look at in social media only push the
They
negativity
reward
and the swear
that.
words and being hateful. If you try to be the person who's making common sense, no one listens. The algorithm doesn't move you up.
Yeah.
That's
You
true,
stay
but
down at the
fuck the
bottom.
algorithm.
Yeah.
Fuck the algorithm. Yes, we were all going to end by saying happy holidays. So we should say, I mean, the good news is that AI theoretically is going to look more for behavioral patterns than demographic patterns. So that is my wish of what I would like to see in this new AI powered world, that it will become smart enough that it'll say, oh, Matt, even though he's in a different age band, loves to travel. Nancy loves to travel. Let's feed them content about travel as opposed to Nancy's old. Let's sell her a walk-in shower. Matt's young. Let's sell him a digital gadget. And I'm hoping that AI, if used properly, could be the great unifier. So on the count of 3, I would love you all to say happy holidays so we could turn it into a social media clip, because if it's not on Instagram, it didn't happen. So 1, 2, 3, happy
Happy holidays.
And to everybody who's listening and viewing, keep on keeping on. Next year, I'm going to be doing 1 solo episode and 1 salt box like this every month. So if you would like to be included in a salt box, nancyashenker@gmail.com. Have a wonderful holiday season and peace out.
Cheers.